Hey YouTube, this is EvanMagician34, and I'm bringing you a little tech update. Or really just kind of hey, this is some sneaky stuff. Something old and something new for you today. Something old? Recognize it? Didn't think so. Blasting Fuse. Kind of a super secret sneaky card you can run. Really, I mean, if you give it a little thought, this is actually a really good card. For the uninformed, Blasting Fuse says, activate only when all 4 zones of this card's column are occupied. Destroy all cards in this column. Yeah, it's from Cyberdark Impact, the set, pretty much the only set actually, which said, you know what, those placement zones which don't even appear on some mats, like say this one, are actually important, because cards do technically belong in a zone. Now what do most people do? Set, go. And if they're going to summon or whatever, bang. They're going to put them all in a column, because that's just how people operate. Go to a large-scale tournament sometime, even at your local. Almost always, people always play it in the same column. Why? Because they're not thinking about it. In fact, let's say somebody just sets another monster. Well, if this guy dies, a lot of people will even put this one in the center. Well, you can't do that, because technically it's against the rules, but nobody knows, nobody cares, because nobody thinks about cards from Cyberdark Impact and the fact that they actually care about this stuff. You can't change a monster in its zone without a little card called Send a Switch, which at a cost of 300 life points, believe it or not, gives you the ability to switch them back and forth as you see fit. Yeah, okay. A little crazy. Point is, most people don't think about it. Point being, they're lining you up, setting you up for Blasting Fuse. And so, basically, you use this. That's one card in its column already. Well, you control one of your own monsters, so you can just play it. So you've already got 2 out of 4, so you set up half of it yourself. And if your opponent has a monster and a spell, well, that's your whole set right there. And basically, they're always going to set them up for you. So you've always got a shot through the middle. Combine it with a card like Sangan, or something completely sacrificable like, depending on your circumstances, that could be anything from Plague Spreader to Mezuki to that extra Lightsworn Wolf or something like that you didn't really need anyway. I mean, you name it, you can play it down and theoretically sacrifice it. Heck, Blackwings do it all the time. About to lose that bird? No, Icarus Attack. In fact, you know what this is? This is Icarus Attack for any deck at all, because it's the same darn cost. Sack that monster, pay the trap, that's your 2 cards, blow up 2 of your opponent's cards. 2 for 2. Granted, not quite as versatile as Icarus, which could potentially take 2 monsters, whereas this is always going to take a monster and a spell or a trap. But heck, this is a great first turn set. Because unless they come out blazing with something weird like Breaker, which doesn't happen that much these days, even though he's at 3 now, basically they're going to set you up over there, and you can just end phase this thing, and it's better than MST. I mean, after all, you're about to get the turn, and this monster was something you controlled, something you knew to set because you knew you were setting this. You knew it was about to happen. That's called player thinking advantage. Not really much of a term for it. Oh, and here's how to play it without it backfiring, because you might be saying, well, they might not be thinking about it the first time, but they're darn sure going to be thinking about it the second time, right? Well, that's the trick. You run 1 copy of Blasting Fuse main deck. That's it. You run 1 copy, it surprises the daylights out of them and creates an unpleasant scenario, especially if you're not playing something like Blackwings where they're expecting something like this to happen. The little 2 for 2. You may make a major surprise for them. Now they're thinking about it. Now they're worrying about it for that whole rest of the game. Well, sure, they're going to be, from now on, they're going to be going, okay, well, I'll set here, and now I'll set this one over here. I'll summon my new monster over here. Well, now they're so worried about this thing, it's distracting them and lowering their play level a little bit. That's a psychological advantage. And you know, the best part is, you only run 1, so they're not spoiling a second one at all. And, assuming you actually play at game 1, hey, if you don't draw it, then leave it in. It's a surprise for game 2 or 3. But sorry. Couldn't talk there for a second. As soon as you reach the game where you play this, next game, you side it out. So they're worried about a card that they're never going to see again. And it's brilliant. The best part is, nobody sees it coming. So, heck, even Gladiator Beasts can run it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anybody can. And there's something new? This card. From the newest set, Ancient Prophecy, Spirit Burner. This is an amazing little card. I won't bother to read you the whole thing, but basically it's 3 effects. It's an equipped spell, works on anybody's monster, and once per turn you can swap it to defense mode. Yeah, that has some applications for your guys, like if they got a better defense or something, but generally speaking, you're going to use it to equip your opponent's monster and kind of poor man's Book of Moon them. They won't go face down and shut off any effects, but you still get the benefit of exploiting a lower defense. Which a lot of monsters, that's their handicap. They're designed that way. Dad, Goyo, etc., most all of them have a lower defense than attack. And if the monster on the field gets bounced to the hand and this thing goes to the grave, you inflict 600 to him, but really that doesn't matter that much. That's the spirit part, but that's not what we're concerned about. The third effect is the thing that makes this card really cool, is if it's in the grave, you can add it to your hand instead of getting your regular draw. So it's actually a recurring kind of Book of Moon effect. So yeah, even though it doesn't really book them in the sense that it shuts off effects by turning them face down, most monsters you're going to want to book actually more often than not, with the exception against the Blackwing matchup. That's the one where it really matters the most. Generally speaking, you're going to want a Spirit Burner, in other words, change it to defense on their turn. Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. Hi, can you tell it's past 2 o'clock in the morning and I've had 8 hours of work every day and I had a staff meeting this morning? Yeah, you can tell. It shows. Anyway, you'll be doing this on your turn. It's not as versatile in this book, but the cool thing is it's recyclable. So you can bring it back. Bring it back. In other words, no more worrying about, oh, my opponent's got the big synchro, I can't deal with it. I need an answer this turn. If I don't top deck the answer, I'm dead. Well, guess what? You've always got the top deck answer. It doesn't have necessarily that many applications because I wouldn't want to be running 2 or 3. It's not a book replacement. What it is it's kind of an extra or an analog for it. The deck that really wants this card, in my opinion, is Lightsworn, because you run 1 copy, you'll almost surely mill it rather than draw it, and then when you need to regain control from somebody who may have just upset you with something like Colossal or whatever, you can just, bam, change it to defense mode. And you know, maybe it's not going to kill the thing. What it is going to do, it's going to give you a chance to foil them for a little while. It'll swap somebody else. I mean, the point is it gives you an element of control. You can bring it back. It's an endless series of, hey, I booked that, hey, I booked that, hey, I booked that. Upsets dads, other judgments, lots of stuff. It's a pretty neat little trick, and it also foils Honest, because it doesn't foil Kalut because Kalut's attack and defense. But the cool thing is it does foil Honest because Honest only boosts attack, so this can get you a little in against other Lightsworns. Just something to consider. I think it's one of the really good commons from the new set. And the other cool thing is it combines with this undervalued card, Power Tool Dragon. Power Tool, yeah, I thought he was trash when I first saw him, but I'm beginning to think, you know, this guy could be cool. I mean, Salvo may not be junk after all. Deco's still good, Salvo for Deco is still good. I mean, let's face it, we kind of have a little hole for 7-star synchros. And the cool thing is, you got Spirit Burner, that's the one of you want to run. You got Autonomous Action Unit, there's another one you want to run. Lots of good stuff to steal. I mean, synchros, you name it, it's out there. United We Stand, amazing powerhouse pump. I mean, there are plenty of good things, even some oddball cards like Mark of the Rose, depending on what you feel like running. So, yeah, just some things to consider there. So, there it is, selling old, selling new. This one might actually be more playable than that, believe it or not. But it's stuff that's really easy and cheap to get and could be a lot of fun, at least at your local, to experiment with. And you might even surprise some people and turn some heads at a larger scale event. So, just food for thought, and those are my tech picks. And until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and enjoy. Thanks.